All right, well, joining us now of Mutoid Man fame, it's Nick Cageao. And Nick, how's it going? How are you managing this crazy pandemic life?
Good, man. I've been luckier than most. I kind of shifted gears career-wise last year before this happened, into the world of like RF coordination and intercom for TV and film.
Holy shit.
So we were closed pretty much all the way up till August, but once TV and film started opening back up, they've been really, really precautious about being on set, and there's like constant testing throughout the week when you're on set. They put you in a bubble sometimes, like if you're doing like a fly gig, you're like, they pay you for the whole month that you're there, even though you may only work, a week of it. It's basically like you get there, you test a bunch of times in quarantine until everybody on the crew is safe to work together in like a hotel where you're not really allowed to leave. Like restaurants are all catered there. Like you're literally in a bubble. Like everybody who's inside of it is tested constantly, and just, it's very heavily regulated. So it seems like they're headed in the right direction to like kind of keep our part of the business open, which is very, very good, because
that's awesome.
A lot of people right now, a lot of my friends are in, really tough spots, and it's hard to see.
Yep.
But yeah, like friends who have been lifelong musicians and have been lucky enough to make a living off of it and support their families. Now it's just like what?
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine if you were, your two main gigs, if I'm correct, were like front of house sound and then touring musician, and neither of those exist currently. So
yeah, currently it's just let's hope for the best, kind of. Yeah. The Jordan and Drew at the 2 Minutes to Late Night crew, though, have done a really, really fantastic job of like supporting the community and like keeping themselves going with this like a weekly cover featuring some like really, really incredible, like some of my heroes, like dude, Les Claypool was on there. And I was like, all right, childhood like dream realized, even though I didn't get to like play on it or anything, it's still like something I'm sort of associated with, and it was like really kind of mind blowing.
That's phenomenal. Well, let's get into that, because you guys did just drop just today, if I'm not mistaken. You dropped the King Diamond Christmas Carol. How did that come about?
I don't know. I think Braun was the one who wanted to do it, because he does a killer King Diamond, as anybody who's seen it can see. And usually like that whole process, you've done them, right? You were just telling me, I won't give it away, but you were just telling me you did one.
Yes.
Which, the process, at least for me, it was like Jordan reaches out. He's like, either he's got an arrangement or somebody does. And it's like, hey, play your part over this and send it back to me, or upload it to Google Drive, and that's just what it was. A couple days ago, he was just like, hey, do you want to do this King Diamond song? He sent me like a wave or whatever, like a pre-mixed thing. I ripped through it. I really like doing them too, because it's like, you can sit there and learn the song as you're recording it. Like, like, all right, wait, here's the riff. No, there it is. All right. Like, so it's like a cool learning experience. It's a cool way to learn a song.
It really is. Yeah, it's fantastic. And the content on the consumer end is such a joy. I mean, I don't necessarily know and or love all of the songs, but the ones like the Thin Lizzy Robin song, it was like, that could have been like a fever dream request of mine. Like that was like, laser targeted at me as the consumer. It was so cool.
Well, those guys are so honed in, and like, it's not just them too. Like Steve Brodsky is constantly helping them arrange stuff, and that dude's a fucking genius. Like,
absolutely,
one of the most prolific musicians of our time. It's kind of crazy to call him a peer. Like he's really just that good at taking hooks from songs, because he's a songwriter, which is a lost art, and makes these things. And Jordan too, and like it's crazy how they turn all these into not just cool, like, oh wow, this shredder played on it, but like, damn, that's stuck in my head too, like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they've been doing that from the start, like from when the show started. Like it was a big part of the beginning of the show. So,
well, can we talk about that for a minute? Because you were at Vitus from Jump when they first got that thing off the ground, and you were sort of part of the house band.
Yeah.
What was your involvement in that, and what was it like from your perspective to watch that come together? How did that all happen? Because it's, first of all, I do want to say, disclaimer, love Jordan, amazing dude. Also hate Jordan because how is he like that funny and talented and smart, and like I just feel like, he definitely got more than his fair share, like when they were handing out the cool stuff.
Oh, absolutely, man. And it's like
Fucking guy.
it's it's like, having kind of, I guess, worked on and off in this industry for a long time. He's like one of those people, when people say like, oh, that dude's got it, like that's what they're talking about. Somebody who's just
Absolutely.
like charismatic, but also can back it up with like a fucking mountain of talent.
Yeah, I don't get it, man.
And that's the dude. And how it started actually was, from my understanding, Steve was giving Jordan guitar lessons, and Mutoid Man was out on tour. I forget where exactly we were, but we were driving, and the idea came up where Steve was like, "Hey, this kid who I'm teaching lessons to wants to start like a Conan O'Brien metal themed show." And originally, I was supposed to be Jordan. I was supposed to be Guarcinio, but like I was so nervous, and I was drinking a lot at the time too, like 5-6 years ago, and was just terrible at it. I couldn't do it. So while we're filming the first episode where I'm supposed to be like the main guy, Jordan just took over, nailed it, and I played like the drunk Andy Richter sidekick, and it kind of worked out perfectly.
Wow, things just fell into place exactly how they were supposed to, huh?
Yeah, and
That's
then
so cool.
and then from there it just everybody's what's the word I'm looking for? Everybody just gelled. Like we got along. There was no like, oh, this is weird. Like this is haha fun, but like there was something there, like some energy there, and
So cool.
it's just they've worked their asses off to get the show where it is and get the guests that they've had, and
Yep.
we've helped out as much as we can along the way. Having people like Ben and Steve in the band to like have connections with other like really great musicians has been really key too. Just like oh, let's get in touch with this, like Ben Wyman, let's get in touch. They were like old buds, like,
Yeah.
dude also is like total ripper. It's just crazy. It's cool.
Yeah. And it's funny, you're seeing, not to cast aspersions, I think it's cool that more people are doing it. But the sort of 2-minute like knockoffs, like they've created, I mean, the thing that they've created, other people are starting to, it's like a whole genre of thing that they've created that other people are now adapting. And it's really cool.
I mean, you saw some of this idea very early on in quarantine. I remember one of the funniest, I follow Sammy Hagar on Instagram.
That dude is a riot, man.
Dude, he's just like 100% happy all the time. He's like a maniac. It's great.
Who also believes that he was abducted by aliens.
Yeah, well, he probably was. But like I saw him do something with Michael Anthony and like maybe Tony McAlpine is his guitarist or something, like early on, something like that. And I've seen it a few times, but the consistency with which they've been pumping stuff out is really like, it's every week.
Yep.
And I think there was like 1 or 2 gaps, and it was literally because like the West Coast was burning and people who were involved could not record or
right. And I don't think people understand, I mean, having done one so far and part of another, just being in my little part of it, my little like 1/6 of the project, it is a lot of work. And the amount of work that Jordan must have to put in to comp everything and put it all together is an incredible. So to do this every week, it's like mind boggling. It's more than a full-time job, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, actually, from what I understand too, is he got laid off. I think he was working for Vice or somebody, some subsidiary, and got laid off and has been able to actually make it his full-time job.
So cool.
Which is great, which is crazy. I mean, I guess it must be, I don't know the details, but I guess it must be off of not only the Bandcamp stuff, which has been great, but the probably like the ad revenue on YouTube and however else merch that they're doing. He's created a very big like family and like a sustainable thing, sort of sustainable thing. Like, we'll see.
We'll see. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
Yeah, everybody check out the 2 Minutes of Late Night stuff. Jordan Olds is the main dog behind it, and it's all fantastic. Well,
And
let's
Drew
get.
Kaufman.
Sorry, I don't mean to live. Yeah, Jordan's like the face of the whole thing.
Yes.
He's like the lead singer, right? So he gets all the kudos.
Axl Rose.
Exactly. None of the talent, all of the credit. All right. Well, speaking of none of the talent, let's get into this whole bass playing trip that we're on.
Cool.
How did you come to be a bass player, and was it ever a question for you of bass or guitar? How did you end up where you're at?
So as long as I can remember, I remember watching an episode of The Simpsons when I was like, 8 years old. And, Lisa was always playing sax, which was my first instrument. I played in, like middle school band or whatever, or like whatever, grammar school band, whatever I played it in. And I remember Bart had a guitar, and a couple of my other friends at the time where I grew up had guitars. And my dad was like, you should get a bass instead because everybody's playing guitar. So I got a bass. My first concert was Yes with Kansas opening. So I think my dad kind of leaned towards like bass. And my first record was Fragile. Like my first bass lick was a Yes lick. Yes. I think it was never a question of whether it was bass or guitar. It was just kind of like, I have a bass and that's what I'm playing. My first amp was a Pioneer stereo system that I could put CDs in with a 1/4-inch jack with an RCA plug that would go into the input, and I could play through the stereo while listening to whatever I was listening to at the time.
I remember I had that same rig.
Yeah, dude, it was great. It was efficient, and it could never get too loud.
Yes. Yeah. To your parents' benefit. Yeah, it could never get overly loud. So what age are we talking about here?
I think probably about 10 years old is when I got my first bass from a place called Eighth Note Music in Oneonta, New York. And it was a 3/4 size P bass knockoff with like the big bell, over over the bridge and the pickup. And it was a cool little bass. And I would like learn, I learned the lick from Roundabout, like that was one of the first licks I learned. And also, what's that? The Violent Femme song. Sure, yeah. I think my sister's boyfriend at the time played acoustic guitar and showed me.
Blister in the Sun.
Yes, Blister in the Sun. That's it. Yeah. Just like a real simple rhythm. Like, I don't know, whatever it is. I don't.
Yeah, you can play it easily all on one string. Very handy. Yes. Yeah. That's awesome. And so were you able to parlay that into a band with your friends who had the guitars, or what happened?
Yeah. I mean, at the time I remember CKY being a popular video series between us skaters when we were kids.
Yeah.
Poop jokes and mild violence against each other. That's not really hurting anybody. So yeah, we would cover, I remember we wouldn't cover songs because none of us were like taking lessons or good enough, but we would figure out the riffs and like not the whole song, but like figure out riffs and just play the riffs over and over again with each other until they sounded like tight, like the drummer would learn his part and the guitarist would learn his riff and I'd learn my riff. And then we would just play that for like an hour and annoy the hell out of whoever's parents were around to hear it. And eventually it turned into like, learning full songs and like playing high school dances and crap like that. But yeah, I mean, a couple of my friends, like one really good friend who was an incredible drummer who I actually just saw recently this weekend. He's now playing in the Takeover, which is like a reggae ska kind of outfit that's pretty big in their own right. Like they do fairly well for themselves in that scene. And he started like a metalhead like me, I think his favorite band was like Slipknot and Tool at the time. They were popular and both had really great drummers. And it's funny watching him now play in like a kick, a snare, a hi-hat, and like maybe a ride or something, and totally crushing it and totally having like the pocket and the feel and like it's weird. It's weird to see where you come over the years,
Yeah, we all got to start somewhere. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you had the same journey as me. Had a couple of lessons, but mostly self-taught, which means that I ended up with a ton of bad habits.
Hmm.
Are there any things that you've had to sort of unlearn along the way, things that were handicapping you in your playing or inhibiting you in your playing that you had to unlearn?
Totally. Same boat, man. I started as self-taught. Like I never took like bass lessons officially. I took music classes in school, but they didn't like. There was one bass, and like some older kid had it the whole
Yeah.
time until he graduated, whatever it was. But I never really took bass lessons, and there's tons of stuff up until maybe like 10 years ago. I never used a pick. I was really into like finger style playing, and
Mm-hmm.
like I said, there was a lot of like Les Claypool and Victor Wooten worship there with all of that like weird like all that weird poppy slappy but like rhythmic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So late in my bass playing journey, I would consider it late. I had to learn how to play with a pick to like play in a metal band.
Yeah,
Like
I can't envision you. I mean, since my familiarity with your playing is primarily Mutoid Man, I can't picture you even playing fingerstyle or without a pick.
yeah, I mean, I do still quite a bit in my own time just to keep up with the technique a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you and be like, oh yeah, I do it all the time. I do 8 hours a day, but I still most of the time I can't even find a pick. It fell under
Right.
the couch somewhere, and I'm just like, I got to get this thing to make noise somehow. Or like when I feel like playing some cover songs, like you can't play Iron Maiden with a pick. I mean, you can, but like
No,
you can't play Iron Maiden with
No.
a pick.
no.
Like it's become my favorite way to play because there's something I really love about how you can get your hand and the pick and the string to interact to get real crunchy tones, which
Yeah.
sometimes some dudes can do that with fingers. I don't know how they do it, but I am not one of them. So
Yeah.
I am like, you know what? Stick with a pick if I want that sound.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's super interesting insofar as that I also grew up. I think I read an interview with Steve Harris at some point. He was my absolute bass idol.
Of
And he's
course.
like, if you play with a pick, you're not a real bassist or something. Maybe it wasn't even Steve Harris. Maybe it was somebody else. But I got this idea in my head, like from a bass player magazine, that playing with a pick was a cop out. And so I refused to play with a pick.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until about, I don't know, 12 or 15 years ago that I learned, incorporated the pick style stuff.
Yeah.
I would never go back. Now I do both, and it's awesome.
Totally. I mean, dude, that's the whole stigma in our world. You're a bass player from the start too, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. That's the stigma from the second you pick up a bass and you put a pick with it when you're a kid. Somebody's dad in New Balance is just like, oh, you're not playing bass. Like, that's not how you play bass. John Paul Jones didn't play bass like that. It's like, you're just getting compared to everybody off the bat. But
oh my God,
I feel that.
That's amazing. Well, let's get into the Dunable here. The next question is, if you could only play one bass for the rest of your life, I assume it's the one that you're holding. Let's talk about it.
It's awesome, man. It's everything that I've always wanted in a bass. I also really like my Arias, the ZZBs.
Oh yeah.
Which you're familiar with. It's got a very, very similar neck to those, which is just real small and like tight spacing on the fretboard. So for the kind of playing that I like to do, which I guess is like, I like to mimic a guitar a lot of the time. I mean, in my playing, I like to have bass parts in the song that are like, oh yeah, there's a bass there. But like playing in a lot of 3-piece bands and stuff, there's a lot of times when it's just necessary to like, oh yes. and
you have much more room that you can fill in, much more space.
And having thin necks is great for that. And this Sasha was cool enough to make this for me, and I have always wanted a V bass, and I always had my eye on one of those Gibsons on like Reverb or eBay that's $5,000 or whatever it is. And I just I never pulled the trigger on one, and then one day he was like, "Hey man, building Steve a guitar. Do you want a bass?" And I was just like, "Yes." And without knowing what Steve was getting, I was like, "Can I have a white Flying V with a black pickguard and gold hardware?" And he's like, "That's so funny. Like Steve's getting a white Flying V." I was just like,
I can't believe you guys didn't coordinate that was completely accidental. That rules.
Yeah. I mean, when we had the Arias, I found him that Michael Schenker Aria V as well, so that we had matching colors at least.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. Although I did have a 1984 Gibson Explorer bass, all black, like everything was black hardware, black everything. And I got it when I was like 21 and had some sort of like medical emergency, had some sort of bill that I needed to pay, and sold this thing because I was a young idiot who like had a crappy job or something. And a few days later, I got a new job, which would have allowed me to like not have to have had sold it. And I went to Rivington Guitars where I sold it 2 days later just to be like, "Hey dude, I'll pay you $100 more than I sold it to you for. Can I have it back?" He's like, "It's gone already."
Unbelievable.
And ever since then, I've not ever sold a bass. I've given a few away, like to people who wanted, whatever bass. I'm kind of like you. I get the Japanese stuff where I don't really spend a ton of money on it, and it's not so much of a loss. It's more of just like, oh, these things are super joyful to play,
Yeah.
So it's
let's talk about the ZZBs for a second. How did you get turned on to those? And is the Dunable also a 32-inch scale? Because ZZBs are medium, right?
Yeah, this is also a short scale. Actually, it's not short scale, but it's medium scale. It's 32, I believe.
Yep.
Or like something even weirder than that, because he was originally going to put a 34 and a half, like a normal scale neck on it.
Yeah.
But it would have made it like, like 20 feet long. I would have
like
been
your old Explorer bass. I'm sure if you had a case for that thing.
Exactly.
It was 8 feet long.
It was like carrying a guitar boat around, even though it was just the guitar.
Yeah.
The Aria stuff, I started with that black and white, black and white one. That was my first one. And I bought it for myself on eBay in 2006 or 7, because I guess nobody knew about them. Or maybe not nobody knew about them, but not a lot of people were like, "Oh, holy crap, these Japanese made basses are incredible. Like they play and sound great and are built really great, and they look cool as hell, and they're ridiculously cheap." I paid like $175 for the thing.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I got it. Not because I knew anything about Japanese guitars being good at the time. I just was like, this is a cheap guitar and it looks cool as hell. And if it doesn't play good, I'm not really that mad that I bought it.
Right.
And then I got it and it turned out to be my main bass for the next 10 years until I got this one. So like 7 or 8 years,
Yeah, they're so incredible. They have the downsized bodies so that they're not as like big and honking as a true Explorer or whatever, and the 32-inch scale helps. They're just there's something about those necks that just makes you want to shred, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really friendly. I sort of wanted to get a fret job on mine because it's turning into almost like a fretless at this point.
Oh yeah.
So, but I kind of dig it because now it just makes like sloppy errors sound that much cooler. Like, oh, there it is. I don't know. It's a really fun thing to play. I've never changed the pickups on it either.
No, those stock area pickups are insane. They're so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a double P set, but in like 2 humbucker shapes.
Yep.
It's really awesome. It's like that. That's like the kind of tone that I've been chasing since I was a kid, is that Chris Squire-y kind of Ricky, doesn't really sound like a bass, but it's a bass kind of sound,
Yep. I was going to say there's, I go back and forth with a buddy a lot. We're trying to find the John Wetton tone, like from King Crimson and Asia and stuff like that. And it's something about the big honking humbuckers can help get you there, as long as they're not too close to the bridge, because then you end up with that like basketball bouncing in the empty gym, like Music Man tone.
Sploink. Yeah.
No, I absolutely hate that.
Not a fan of it.
Yeah. My next question is the one piece of gear that you regret parting with, but you already told me that you would
it was
sell a limb to get that Explorer back.
It was that Explorer, man. I think that was my moment of seller's remorse that stopped me from ever going any further. I'm sure in certain conditions that I've been in over the last 10 years, I'm sure I could have very easily sold other gear, but thankfully somehow managed not to. And I don't think I will from here on out, you know?
Yep. Well, what does the rig consist of at this point? We've got the Dunable. I know you're a big dark glass guy. What else is going on?
Actually, like my rig is not here. That's at my studio, but I now have, I can send you a picture if you want to add it later in post or something. So I have 4 Tyrant cabs.
Right.
I have 2 412 cabs and 2 215 cabs. So it's a total of 8 12s and 4 15s. Mm-hmm. And on top of those, I've got the Sound City running through the 8 12s because it's a Sound City 188. It's kind of a weird one. It's like a rare one of the old Sound Cities. It's this like 220 watt beast of a KT88 head, but gets some pretty, I guess the best way to describe it is like Telecaster-y, chimey, glisteny sort of tones. And then I have a Tyrant head, which I used to have a green mat amp, which I still have, but like I swapped it out for the Tyrant head, which apparently he modeled it after like a Model T. So it's a very good pedal platform with a really good, tight, clean low end. So it goes to the 15s. But before it hits the 15s, I go through a DBX 120A, which is a piece of rack gear that they use in studios that's a sub-synth, like it produces sub-synth sounds, and the tracking on it is really great. And it basically like beefs up the whole bottom end. Most people use it on like a bus, like a drum bus, to just fatten up the whole mix. Yeah. I one night mixed Bill Laswell at St. Vitus. Yeah. And, you know, being a Primus fan, I knew about him because of Buckethead, because he was in a band called Praxis with Buckethead. And I was kind of like a weird little nerd into that kind of music, like while I was learning. So when I found out he was playing at Vitus, I was kind of like, oh shit. No, there was like 10 people there. Like 10 people showed up. Nobody knew who Bill Laswell was.
Yeah, he's just a New York fixture, and he's always playing.
Yeah. And like showed up and just had this tiny little setup with more low end than the subs did at St. Vitus. And I was just like, what the hell? And he was cool enough to be like, oh, it's this trick that I've been using for years. You put this DBX, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that would work for like heavy metal, like get like a real Torch bomb string, but get it like real, you know, like boom, like massive. And it's also got a direct out that is like pure low end garbage for subs. Yep. So like on tour, you can do it through the amps and then take one of the directs out and have the sound guy just put it straight into the sub. So every time you're like on that low, like that low, it's just like, whoa, like this is weird. I gotta poop.
Make people's pants flap out there in the crowd.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
So it's that. And yeah, I've got some dark glass stuff too. The whole front end of my pedal chain, which is on the floor here and you can't see, is a Super Symmetry, which is their compressor. And that's the first thing in my chain. It just kind of makes my inconsistent playing sound a little bit more together when I'm sloppily hacking through stuff. That goes into a Vintage Ultra dark glass preamp, which is a lot like a Sans amp. Same theory behind it, just obviously different tone stack and like whatever. And then into a Microtube X, which is their distortion, which I really have been digging because bass distortion is kind of tricky. And they've gotten it pretty good where you sort of can like, I think the important part is the blend knob. You can blend in like your unmessed with clean signal and like start getting that sort of low end dropout, but then see that you still have decent amount of like, low end. And then I've got an Electrofoods Opernicki, which is a really cool fuzz that I've been messing around with.
Is that bass specific or is it?
It's not, but it has like a cool mid sweep and it's got like a lot of cool tone controls that you can really just keep it heavy and not just make it like, oh, it sounds like, what is it? The old trick where you poke holes in your speaker cone to make it distorted.
Yep.
That sort of vibe to it. And then I've got some of those. Do you know Champion Lessie?
No.
So I've got two of his pedals. There's a Skitter and the Woozy, and the
Excellent
the
names.
Yeah, the Woozy is kind of cool. It does everything from like a few 100 millisecond delay, like that, to like if you get it real tight, it sounds like a really good chorus pedal. And I think chorus on bass is always cool, even just blended a little bit.
Yeah.
I've got an Octron, Octafuzz. I've got a TC Electronic Quintessence, which is a harmony pedal, which gets all those stupid, like, here, I wonder if, I don't know how this sounds on your end, but we'll have it recorded. So it's like, just like cool harmonies that you can get with it.
Yeah.
And then I've got a couple other things that like I play around with here and there, but like most of the tone shaping tools that I use are literally just like different preamps and different kind of gain stages.
Yeah.
I've just sort of recently started getting into like the weirder pedals, like modulation pedals. Just because I don't know how to play with them. Certain dudes can kill pedals, I don't know how to make them sound good. So I don't try too hard.
No, I'm more with you. I'll have like three, I don't know, for lack of a better term, 3 dirt pedals. They're essentially preamps. Yeah. And then just like stack them in different ways to cop different tones, and then a compressor. So
yeah. I mean, I think the compressor is probably, if I had to have one pedal, it would be the compressor.
Wow.
Most of my amps can distort themselves. So if I were in any kind of situation, it would probably be either the compressor or like the preamp, the Vintage Ultra, or I used to really love the MXR M80, that version of the Sans amp. That thing got me through years until I was in a band with famous guys and people wanted to give me stuff. So
they're also great that sort of pedal platform is great for fly-ins and stuff, because you don't know what you're going to end up with, and you're still going to end up sounding like you regardless of what you're going through.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, for sure. I've maybe shot myself in the foot over the years of really dialing in my ideal home rig, because
totally
then I get like, oh, whatever. Like I get this V4B and this stupid like SVT, or like this orange AD200. Oh, woe is me. Meanwhile, it's still really great gear. I just like, I guess maybe being the sound dude or just an asshole or something, I'm very like, nope, that's not it, but it'll have to do kind of thing.
No, I don't think it's not assholey at all, because no, you plug in and you expect it to sound a certain way, and then when it doesn't, you feel some level of discomfort. You're like, this isn't the way it's supposed to sound, and that just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you're playing an instrument, it should be you going into one side and it coming out the other end, you still, Yeah. Like that's how I've always felt about it. When people ask questions about like tone and like, oh man, how'd you get this tone? And I'm like, I honestly believe most tone comes from your hands, how you hit the string. A buddy of mine used to say, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. And that's probably not PC anymore to say.
Right.
But I find that to be true with, I don't consider myself to be a great player, but when you look at the great players like Eddie Van Halen or like a Billy Sheehan or like a Les Claypool, they play through their instrument, like there's just no separating them from that. And I think that's what truly makes those people that stand out in the music world what they are. It's because there's no separating them from the guitar or the bass or the drums or whatever, you know. Singers don't count because it's actually attached to them.
Right. So. They are one and the same. Well, Nick, are you like me in that every time you plug in for a sound check or sit down and pick up somebody's bass or go to a Guitar Center, you play a trademark sound check riff? And if so, what is it?
Yes, it used to be. I guess it's a toss up between 3 riffs. It's Rock Bottom by UFO, which is
R.I.P. Pete Way.
Yeah. It's just
Yes.
it's so stupid. It's such a pentatonic, like dumb guy riff, but it's so good.
So bad. It's a classic.
And it sounds incredible when it's coming out of a massive PA and like you're actually getting a sound check and like
Yes.
your rig's blasting behind you. It's just a good riff, you
Hell
know?
yes.
Like, and I think also very representative of like the style that I play and what my performance is going to be for most of the night. The picking style, so it has a couple of uses.
Mm-hmm.
And then classic gotta play that one when you're checking. Yep. And then roundabout 2.
Yep.
Like those are the riffs, man.
You got to check the yes boxes, the Heart of the Sunrise, and maybe some
Jerry Was a Race Car Driver.
Oh,
that one's hard to play on a 4-string because this is all like 6-string, but it's like
damn,
kind of close, but
it's still in there. It's that one's in your DNA, huh?
Man, dude, I remember being so obsessed with Primus that like the only song that I never learned out of any of those albums, I used to get like the Cherry Lane tab books and stuff when I was a kid and just listen to Primus records. The only song that I could never figure out was Is It Luck off of Sailing the Seas of Cheese. I have no idea how he's doing that part in that song. And I've come to terms with that. I'm never going to figure it out. It's like one of those Claypoolisms that's just like, all right, he's got like some kind of weird opposable digit hiding somewhere.
Yeah, my bass doesn't have those notes on it. I just can't. It's like not a physical possibility.
Yeah, or like, dude, I even used to like study like his rig. He used to have like a crappy ADA rack-mounted.
I remember that. Yeah,
distortion and stuff, and like
that was like a very '90s thing, dude. There's many dudes out here in the Bay. I don't know if it was Les's influence or if it was just the thing. Like I think ADA might have been like a local-ish company. But yeah, a lot of people had that. Whatever that front end of that preamp was, and then the power amp.
Yeah, like the Crown or like a Mesa Big Block or something like that.
Yep, and then you'd have the foot switch board for the ADA for like changing patches and stuff.
Yeah, like here's my weird reverb that when you change the patch, the entire tone of the guitar changes, but it still kind of works, I guess.
Phenomenal. Oh man. Well, let's there've been a few Mutoid Man records at this point. Is there like a bass line that people associate with you? Some that you've written, some that you've played with Mutoid Man? Is there like one that is just stereotypically, iconically you?
I actually wrote the riffs in Bridge Burner and the title track off of War Moans, which is the song that Marty Friedman played on. Man, there's a Melt Your Mind has got that sort of like, Motorheady, like straight up just. But I guess like War Moans is probably the most Nick Cageao riff ever to see a Mutoid Man record. I just, for years, I don't know what guitarist I was trying to copy, but just that real stupid metal, like 3 notes per string thing. Just like I was obsessed with that kind of like weird techie stuff for a while. And Steve and I were jamming at Vitus one day during the writing process for War Moans, and that riff came out and we started jamming on it. And then actually I saw that Brian Cook was your other guest, who is awesome. We've toured with them. He's a sweetheart, great dude. Agreed. I called the next part in that song the Russian Circles part. We've toured with them, and it was just like one of those almost Tool-ish riffs in its simplicity, just like the... like that. It just, it seemed very Russian Circle-y to me. So we called it the Russian Circles part. There's another Russian Circles part on that record too, during Wreck and Survive. When Ben and I lock in on the, I thought that was a very Russian Circles thing. How
That's
Brian
awesome.
Likes to like really lock in with like a very specific kick drum beat and make it real, like,
Oh, I love that. Those are like transcendent moments when you're the Brian Cook in that equation, and you're just locked in with the drummer. And you're like, yeah, this is like it's like you're levitating or something. It's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah. That's what makes him one of the standout bass players, among many other things. Is just that that weird pocket he's able to create with whoever's pounding drums behind him,
Yeah,
which is awesome.
that rules. Is there something that you can tell me today that will make me a better bass player? Like one stupid trick that I
Mm,
can employ today to elevate my bass playing?
practice. That's not really a trick.
That's not a trick.
I don't think you personally. I don't think I could teach anything. I mean, I love finding little cheats that sound really really cool, but are not that difficult to do with like a little time.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, you've probably heard it in the 2 minutes to late night theme. Something that I've done for years is just like this. I've practiced on my hammer-on pull-offs. Like I think that's a really important thing. Maybe because of my admiration for guitarists, but like that total like even in there's that Megadeth song where in the middle of it, Dave Ellison's like, like that. You're just doing like really fast triplets, and you can just be playing the most mundane riff and then come in and be like, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? And it's not really that hard. You're playing like you're just following a scale, and but it's kind of, I mean, like.
No, let's be honest, dude. That's super impressive. Like, and like I can tell you that you're sort of downplaying it a little bit, but that's really difficult to get those to sound clean. So, like, how did you approach that?
Just hours of doing it, man. Doing it slowly and like trying to figure out, like, I guess when I probably first started trying to figure it out was like, do I pick everyone? Like that's not going to work. It's all about getting the snap on the first one and like just literally, they don't call it hammer-ons for nothing. You want to like hammer that. And like same thing for like the tapping stuff. That's like you want to just like lock into it, like sound like that's like the Billy Sheehan kind of stuff where it's just like you're using a note several times to get that like weird, like I just practice that stuff for hours because it's funny to me. It has no real application when you're writing songs at all. It's great for sound checks when like the bar back is there filling the ice wells up, and you're just like, hey dude, check it out, I'm Eddie Van Halen on bass.
Right. It also impresses other bass players. It's pretty fucking cool.
I mean, that's what I always loved. I loved like that stupid Primus thing, and like until I realized that that's not how you play bass. Like one of my favorites was that song DMV.
Which record?
DMV was maybe on Suck on This, the one with the up into hell, I spell it. There was that riff that just like I can't do it on a 4-string very easily, but it's like maybe it's up here actually. There it is. I can hardly play it on this thing, but I was just so fascinated with that, and like at the same time his connection with Buckethead and watching Buckethead play guitar and like do like 4-finger tapping things all the way up the neck. I was just like, it was always just very cool to me. I thought it was a very cool element to music that made it stand out, and also was fortunate enough in the very beginning to have this like spiral bound book with a DVD in it called The Shadows of Motown, and it was all about James Jamerson and like had his early stuff, which to me, of course, being like a young bass player who wanted to play all the notes, was just like, this guy's boring, man. He just sits there and he's like, do. And then like as I grew older, I was just like, oh my God, this guy played on more records than I can imagine, and his bass playing is actually ridiculous. Like, and the fact
he invented the entire vocabulary for electric bass, which is pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah, well, that information I didn't either register it or didn't have it or whatever it was, because I was like listening to Rage Against the Machine and like Primus and like stuff like that. It was just like with whatever dad music, and like and it took years for me to realize like, oh, that's why all those other guys played all the things that they were playing in various different forms.
Yep.
Because of that dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I feel the same way. Like, yeah, it's better to figure it out late than never. Like, I eventually came around. Yeah. At first I just wanted to play Phantom of the Opera by Iron Maiden, just play all the notes, but
yeah.
Eventually you figure it out if you stick with it.
That's kind of what you want to do. You want to like, I mean, I guess even if it's not really why you start playing, there is that whole in your mind, like, oh, be a rock star, I'm going to get chicks or like whatever. That's like the whole, like, why does anybody pick up a guitar? You don't just pick up a guitar because you're like, oh, that looks like a fine instrument that I'd like to learn. You do piano if you want that,
Right.
Like that's like, it's got that whole aspect to it too.
Awesome. Final question before I let you go, Nick. Is there one amazing or stupid or horrific or hilarious story from the road that you can share with us today?
There's a lot. I guess my favorite one was actually when I wasn't even playing. I was on tour with Blondie doing monitors.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in LA at the Microsoft Theater. And I'm like packing up my monitor stuff. And then like I went to go grab not Clem. I went to go grab Lee Fox, the bass player. I went to go grab Lee Fox's in-ear pack from the green room like I would every night.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy Caputo, who actually plays bass for who are the brothers, the drummers, Dio.
A Piece.
Yes, he plays bass for like their whole project. He's an incredible bass player. He comes up to me as I'm like in the dressing room and I'm like, post show mode. And he's like, I'm like grabbing the in-ears from Lee and he's like, dude, like Morrissey's here. Like Morrissey was there, like right behind us. And I thought he was like joking because I didn't like register like, oh, we're in LA. Oh, I'm with Debbie Harry. Like,
right.
And very loudly, I go, dude, fuck Morrissey. That guy fucking sucks. And like, it was not quiet. And I was kind of like, I turned around to walk out of the room and was just kind of like made eye contact and was sort of mortified and was just like, all right, see you later. That was one of the top of the list funny.
Oh my God.
I think. Because fuck that
rules.
guy.
Oh my God. Yeah, he has really revealed himself to be quite a twat, hasn't he?
Yeah, man. I mean, it sucks when you're separating the music from the musician. He's got a prolific catalog, and I dig a lot of the Smith stuff. Never enjoyed some of his solo stuff, but it just sucks that he's such a turd.
Yep. All right. I lied. I got one more question for you, Nick.
Yeah.
Have you gotten the Polar Winter Seasonals yet?
I have not actually. I've been crushing some Waterloo. Oh, actually, hold on.
Waterloo's so good, dude. All right, while Nick is reaching across his shop there, this is the Polar Concord Clementine, which I highly recommend. If you like the grape Waterloo, this is reminiscent of that.
I've only got myself some Hal's New York Seltzer grapefruit.
Oh, Hal's is so good. Be careful. Don't open that over your pedal board.
Oh,
they're so carbonated.
I'm so used to opening Topo Chico these days that I've got the method down so that it doesn't explode all over everything.
You got to let it sort of aspirate. Hell yes. Cheers to you, buddy.
Cheers, bud. It was really good to talk to you, Ian.
You too, man. Thanks again for your time. And is there anything to plug at the moment? Mutoid Man stuff?
Not really, man. Mutoid Man stuff is kind of on hold at the moment. I'm sort of working on like a solo record. Not the solo record. It's me and Chris Maggio, who's a phenomenal drummer. And Jordan Olds is going to be playing some guitar on it. And this dude, Eli Santana. Actually, you played the bass like with your killer like sub pedals on the demo that I released.
Yes.
That is still happening. It's just, I wanted to get with Chris and shore up arrangements, and things have been nuts with COVID. So there's a pile of songs sitting there waiting to be polished up, and Santos is doing the artwork, and I'm just gonna release it. You know, I just for fun, man. It's a lot of cool ripping. There's some really cool bass playing. A lot of those weird, stupid techniques are on there because it's not like where I'm in a band where I have to be like, all right, cool, let's write a cool song. It's like, yeah, there's some cool song in there, but look at this stupid thing. Like, so yeah, it's called Thorsaurus.
Thorsaurus.
Yeah, man, it'll eventually come out and nobody will hear of it. It'll be great.
No, it'll be great. A lot of people will hear it. Thanks again, Nick. This is a real pleasure. Thanks again for your time and your insight, and
Absolutely, man.
Be safe and take care.
You too, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.